We are back. It's going to be another jam-packed week. We're heading down to London for some events. We are in plenty of internal meetings, driving the business forward. We're property sourcing for our next HQ. It's all go. Let's go.
If you're new here, my name is Taylor Tassie. I'm a business owner here in the UK. And over the last few years, I've built a group of businesses approaching 10 million in turnover, involved in the promotional products and print sector, the property development sector, and the waste management sector. I employ close to 50 people here in the UK across a couple of different businesses on a couple of different sites. And over the last few years, I've learned a thing or two about what makes a few businesses really tick. And I want to share my journey right here on the YouTube channel to help others on their journey.
Good morning. It's the start of a new week. You join me on a Sunday, a sunny Sunday, and we are heading to London this afternoon. I've got a quite exciting couple of days. So Charlotte, my partner, has been following Mel Robbins, who, if you don't know, is all around the personal development space. She just recently released quite a nice new book called Let Them, and she talks all around mindset, personal development, and she is coming to London this evening to do a sort of talk, I think it's going to be like a bit of a TED Talk style to an extent in London. So Charlotte wanted to go and see her and what she's got to say. So we're going down tonight to see if we can learn a few things and extract some knowledge there around personal development. So we're going to that, and then tomorrow we are going to be in a WeWork. Quite shocked I'm still confused by the WeWork scenario, so I'm going to research that later on the train as to how that still operates. But we've got a WeWork tomorrow, and then tomorrow evening, very, very kindly invited by James Sinclair, who, if you do not follow, you should definitely check out his YouTube channel. Incredible entrepreneur, and a real variety of different businesses that he's involved in, really interesting topics that he talks on. Learned an incredible amount from him. He very kindly invited me to an event he's putting on in Leicester Square, so we're going to that tomorrow evening, which should be nice as well. So we've got a couple of days in London, bit of work, bit of learning and development in the evenings, and a bit of networking. So that's what we're doing to kick the week off, and we're driving on our way down now from Norfolk to London. And I've got on in the background a podcast by the founder of AO.com, and his name is John. So if you search up JohnAO.com, I've so far, first podcast I listened to was the Business Leader podcast, which is a regular podcast I listen to, and he was on there. Absolutely blew me away. One of the best stories. I think when you listen to something that really resonates with you, that's how I determine, either it really resonates with me or I extract so much gold from it that I feel I can deploy. Listening to this John, who founded AO.com, absolutely incredible. I've now searched YouTube for his name and podcasts, and like 4 or 5 have come up, and every one's a slightly different conversation. There's different topics coming up, but I would strongly recommend following that journey, because so much of what he's saying I resonate with. One of the things he's speaking about on the last podcast that I feel I've always done, and it's one of the reasons we've got to where we are today, but listening to his story, he takes it to another level. So I've always said quite openly that I often reach out to people 10 steps ahead of me, and I'll send them a message, a direct message on Instagram, LinkedIn, a letter, phone call them, and I'll ask for a coffee or to meet them. And some of my greatest mentors over the years I've done that with, both in the UK and abroad, and they've responded back and said, yeah, I'll give you an hour, I'll have a chat with you, and that's morphed into so much. It really resonated with me because John, on this podcast, when he was building AO.com, done exactly the same. But when he was looking to build his AO.com membership model, he went even further and reached out and wrote handwritten letters to the team at Costco, which obviously arguably one of the greatest membership programs in the world. And he basically said, if you let me, if I fly out to America, would you give me an hour? I just need some advice. I'm a guy that, I think he said something cheeky like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I just want some advice. And they said, yeah. And he went out there and he jumped on a plane straight away at the first hurdle and got out there and managed to sit with them for about 4 hours and extract absolute gold from arguably the world leaders in that particular project that he was going to work on. And it made me realise that I think sometimes I'm not aggressively doing that enough, and it's incredible just how much he says there it's helped him. Same when they went on the stock market, he wrote handwritten letters to everybody that had listed and gone public in the last few years to ask them what mistakes they made, what lessons they'd taken from it, so he could learn before going into a process he didn't know about. Enjoying that podcast, and I think other people should give it a listen if you're building a business. That's what we're doing. See what London's got in store for us. Good morning from London. Pretty tired this morning. Didn't get a chance to video much yesterday because it was quite a full-on day. We got down to London in late afternoon, had a little wander around, and then went to the Mel Robbins event. Took a lot from that, actually, which was surprising. Well, not surprising, but because I haven't read her book, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But yeah, really interesting concept, this whole let them theory. Highly recommend getting the book. I'm gonna read Charlotte's copy of it now that she's finished. One thing that I used this morning that I learnt already was this 5-second rule thing, and the only time I'd heard about this 5-second rule was when you pick up food off the floor and stuff. But one of the things that she was talking about is when you really don't feel like doing something. And they're really the moments where you're deciding your future, is the stuff that you really know you should do, but just in that moment you just can't bring yourself to do it. So this morning was one of those moments. I woke up, was pretty tired from that event. I really didn't feel like getting up, jumping out of bed and going to the gym. But I counted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and managed to pull myself out of bed. We got into the gym, which was good. So we got not the best workout of my life because I'm feeling a little bit tired and I'm out of my usual routines, which is obviously always throws you a little bit. But we got it done and that was good and I feel better for it. So yeah, this 5-second rule, like saying all around, like you're never going to feel like doing all of the things all the time that you should do. Yeah, this 5-second rule, just counting back from 5 when you don't feel like it, it's always going to go left or right. It's going to be one decision or the other, and I think life is a compound effect of those tiny little habits and decisions that you're making every day. And that 5-second rule I thought was very simple but handy little tactic, and I tried it this morning and it worked. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're now heading back to the hotel to get ready, and then we're going to head into co-working space. Usually when I'm in London I try and time it for meetings, in-person stuff, but at the moment we just have so much going on. It is really desk-based stuff. Got quite a few Teams calls to do today, just getting my head into some data and some analysis. There's just a lot going on that's desk-based, so not how I would usually spend my time when I'm in London. I try and sort of milk the time as best as I can to catch up with customers, friends, that kind of thing, but it's not the plan today. We're going to be head down deep in some work, and then tonight we're going to James's event. So yeah, should be good. Should be a good day. Yeah, I'm not sure when I'll see you next, but that's what we're doing. Good morning from London again. It's been a busy few days. I didn't get a chance to film too much yesterday. We had a really good day in the WeWork space. I think they're incredible for sort of people to use as a pit stop when you're in cities. The thought that goes into the layout, there's like mouthwash in the bathrooms, and the space is really, really friendly. It was right up my street. It was like dogs running around. It was a cool place to work, and yeah, really good facilities, and I got a lot of deep work done. I was working on a bit of a monthly P&L audit, looking at expenses, and we were looking at reporting, we were looking at some new workwear, a real push we're doing on some workwear side of our business, which was good. But I wanted to talk to you about a lesson that prompted me to remind myself of this morning. So a few years ago, and it was just a few short years ago, we were in a completely different place as a business, and we were in sort of real frugal mode. We didn't have enough. It was back when I wasn't paying myself, and it was in those real early days. and I didn't have a real appreciation of time and the value of it. And what happened was we did an order for a lady who was holding a corporate event in one of these buildings behind me. It was about a £90 order for some printed balloons with her logo on it that she was holding in one of these buildings here for a corporate event. What happened was that those balloons were delivered by the courier, and the lady rang me up and said they didn't make the event, and when we started the event the balloons wasn't here, and therefore we need a full refund. Now obviously we've got that policy where if we miss your event, you don't pay for it. She said, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. If the courier can get me the balloons, I've got another event next week, I'll use them there. And to me, £90 then was, it still is. I'm not putting it down. It's just that things have changed and we've grown and we could swallow a hit like that now. But £90 was like, wow. That's a real big amount. That's a big chunk of change. I said, look, I rang the courier. They didn't know anything about it. We're saying it's delivered. The customer's saying it is. And I said, look, it's an event venue. It's probably been put somewhere. So I got on the train, 2.5 hour trip here, and I went to the building and said, look, I'm from this company. I've delivered these balloons. They've gone missing. Is there any way you can help me locate them? I spent about an hour looking through the building with the reception team and trying to find these balloons. Never found them. They were obviously lost in the courier system somewhere. Obviously anyone who deals with couriers knows that there's no such thing as getting the money out of them for a claim. It's just non-existent. So that was pointless. And I said to the customer, look, I'm really sorry, we've obviously given you the full refund. They have gone missing. And really incredibly frustrating. But what it taught me is the power of lost time. That was about a 4 or 5 hour round ordeal, pretty much a lost day, because by the time I got back to the office I was knackered, for £90. And I look at it now, and whilst we would always go the extra mile for customers, we would bring someone in, a same day courier or something like that to help us sort that. The cost of what I actually lost in spending a day of an expedition getting out trying to find them was far greater when I look at how my time could have been spent that day in bringing in business and growing the company. And actually it didn't change the outcome for the customer at all. She didn't know I'd been and looked for those balloons or anything. She thought we'd just sort of come to the conclusion of our investigation internally that the courier had lost them. So just a little lesson for you on valuing your time that I only know now in hindsight is that if there's somebody out there that can do something that's better than you at it, then you should really get them to do it and you focus on what only you can do. So, little lesson there for you this morning. And now I'm going to grab a coffee and we're heading back to Norfolk. Get back in the office, see the team, see what the day's got in store for us. That's what we're doing. We are testing out a new little toy that's just arrived. So we're trying to do more longer form, me and Sam call them like educational videos. So we do the vlog documenting the journey, but sometimes certain people message me on LinkedIn and even sometimes via email asking questions off the back of the vlog and just about how I've learnt to do certain things within my business and how I approach certain parts of my life. So what we do is sometimes, especially if there becomes a bit of a trend in those questions, we try and turn that into like a longer form help video, which is just giving advice and guidance, a bit more educational as opposed to vlog. And what we thought with that is it would be ideal to have a bit of a nicer mic so we can set up a dedicated part in the building where we can film and record that, and therefore then we can just be a bit more structured with the format of those videos and lay them out a little bit nicer. So Sam's ordered this new little toy which has just arrived, so we're just testing it out at the same time as giving you an update on what's happening today. So we've just got our first case study video for Totally Branded up and live up on YouTube and on our socials. So I'm quite pleased with that. So we filmed a video with one of our customers, which was Age UK Norwich, and we headed over there and we videoed some
interviews about what they like about working with us and about our partnership, about how they utilise Totally Branded to produce their branded merchandise. And then we've overlaid that with loads of B-roll of us actually behind the scenes producing their products, as well as some interviews with our sort of head of sales and our account managers, etc., who look after the company. And we've merged that into a nice sort of case study video for potentially other businesses that are interested in working with us in what it's like to work with Totally Branded. So really enjoyed doing that, and it's a big thing. I've said it before on the vlog, but what we did there was, instead of just asking the client, is it okay if we can do this, and just a take approach, is give and take. And what we said was, would you be willing to give up a couple of hours for us to come over to your office and do some filming and just interview you about what it's like working with us? Whilst we're there, we will create a promotional video for your organisation or business, and then free of charge, what we'll do is Totally Branded will fund. We'll create our case study video about what our partnership, and we'll also create you a promotional video 3 minutes long or so of your choosing, for you to use for your marketing and resource. And therefore it's a much easier ask, because it's give and take. They're kind enough to give up their time, you're giving them something in return. And I personally think in this day and age, video is so critical, and more business. I recommend it to so many people. Very rarely have I seen anyone take me up on the advice where I say to someone, just invest, even if you haven't got an in-house camera person, invest in finding a freelance videographer, hire them on a day rate, agree with one of your customers, I'm going to come over to you, and let's just say you work in the office furniture space. You supply office furniture. You want to target Norwich in Norfolk, just because that's near where we are. And what you do is, if you've already got a client that is a large brand, well known within Norwich and Norfolk area, and is a recognisable brand, and you're very fortunate that you already work with that company, you offer them that same proposal, in my opinion, which is, can we come and do a case study talking about what it's like with you using us as your office furniture supplier, why you choose to use us. In return, our cameraman that we've funded for the day will film enough content while we're there for another video of your choosing, which is for you, and we'll fund that. Now, promotional videos can cost hundreds, if not thousands of pounds in this day and age. So to give that offer to a marketing manager or a small business director, it's so hard for them to refuse. It's such a good offer. And the power of, on your website or putting on social media or Meta on LinkedIn and boosting that to all of the other local businesses in that area with the demographic that you want to hit, it's just, oh wow, that's obviously where they're buying their furniture. They've got beautiful offices. They're very high. Oh, we should get a quote off of them. It does make a difference, and it does work. And I just think that more people should be investing in doing that. I think it's a beautiful form of credibility. And when you're prospecting, you can run ads on it, you can use it on your website for credibility, you can send it out on emails attached to proposals and quotations. It just works. Video just does now. And that investment is so multi-use and so leverageable, because you can use it in different areas, rinse and repeat. So that's what we're focusing on. Our first one's just up. I've just reviewed it. I think it looks fantastic. I've watched it about 3 times, just because I'm proud. It's especially as it's working with such a great charity. So yeah, all in all, pretty good, and that's what we're up to. See you later. So these viewings for these commercial properties, so obviously I need to start that process quite soon, because it's not going to be an overnight thing to find that size facility.
Yeah.
So what I'm planning on doing is we're not fully sure yet on the square foot needed, so I'm gonna sort of get a flavour by taking Cody, and we'll go and look at a few. It'll give us an opportunity to put the feelers out with the agents, and we'll look at some that are lease, some that are freehold. If they're lease, we can say, look, would the landlord be open to a 3-year option or something, so that we lease with a clause that we will buy the freehold or have an option to purchase the freehold at the end of the tenure or whatever it may be. I'm not going to waste my time if it's a complete no-go, like location-wise. I'm only going to look at ones that are very likely could be, but would be subject to actually getting in there and getting a feel for how much investment we would need to spend on the building to get it into the right position that we'd want it to be. So those two on there that I sent you last night, they're both with the same agent, so I can be quite open and honest with them and say, look, we're looking at around this square footage, this is the criteria, these could or couldn't be dependent on the landlord's options, but can you please keep us in mind, we need to make a move in the next X amount of months on this. Can you please give me first refusal if you've got anything that comes up or whatever? Just had a catch up with my assistant Kelly, and she's working from home this morning. She's got some trades going on at home, and I think that's the reason it really works is we're very consistent in making sure we have our morning briefing, as we call it. So we always, whether I'm abroad, off-site, travelling in the car, whether I'm in the office, we always make sure we religiously have that first thing in the morning briefing every morning, following that same agenda. We look through she shows me my to review folder within my Outlook inbox of anything that she's concerned that she's not sure how to respond on, that I need to review and give comment on before it's responded to. We look through our team's task board, which is like the planner app that she uses, where I've brain dumped any ideas and she needs more context on it. She gives me updates on projects that she's taken away from me and lets me know how they're performing and how they're going. And she gives me updates on my diary and how things need to be changed. And we look at the day ahead, and my gut will say, I know that's booked in, but I'm not feeling that today, we need to move it, something urgent's come up on my WhatsApp direct that I need to deal with, and we chop and change the day accordingly, and we're always religiously having that meeting. And then we're discussing bigger projects and things that she can do to support me move the needle on them, even if the day has gone a bit off plan, or I've been pulled into something a little bit off schedule, she's still making movements. One of the things we've been talking about today is making motion with reaching out to local commercial agents and putting the feelers out for us looking for our next sort of HQ for our expansion plan over the next coming years for Totally Branded. So we were having a little look at that. I was just explaining my sort of approach and how I want to play it, and then she'll really take that brief and then go out and open those conversations, book those viewings and plot that into mine and Cody's diary, so we've got that sort of operational push forward. So yeah, no, it's going pretty well, and now I seem to have a very busy day of back-to-back meetings, pushing forward and driving for a better tomorrow. That's what we do. The next one was the new location viewings.
Yeah.
So obviously with that roadmap, I've said to Kelly, look, I'm going to be monitoring regularly, and then the idea is we just want to cast the net really wide at this point, because if I'm honest, without getting a scale ruler out, I really want us to go and see a 20,000 square foot, a 30, a 15, a 7. I just want to look at different sizes, because you'll get a feel for, and by seeing 10 different options, and as I said to Kelly, we'll look at some freehold, some leasehold, because it may be that it's up for lease, but they'll do a 5-year option.
What we wanted to do before,
So we just want to cast the net wide, and also then meet lots of agents and say, look, this is our brief. Anything that comes up even off market, we're in the market for it.
Because there is a lot of stuff that does that. The other thing I thought of as well is auction.
Yeah. Just put off of my auction after.
No, I know, but the other one was from auction.
True.
But you might get an old shitty rundown thing.
Yeah, that's a 3-year plan.
But it's a complete rebuild for dirt cheap. And somebody just goes, I can't be asked for the ag.
I think we just need to cast the net really wide. Like you say, look at auction, look at land, look at existing, look at redevelop, everything. We are on the road. Beautiful day for it, and me and Cody are putting a bit of tyre time in, and we are beginning the
hunt for our next expansion, which we're on a bit of a research mission. So we're a little bit early a little bit premature, you could argue. We're not quite ready yet, but we know that we need to start the journey because it's not going to be overnight. But the totally branded warehouse and production facility, you would have seen on the last few episodes, we are quickly running out of room at a rapid rate. And every week I'm told, you know, we can't do this and we can't do that because we don't have the space. And so we've got to start preparing to deal with that challenge. And so one of the things that we need to really ascertain for me and Cody is, okay, well, how big is going to be big enough for us, for our sort of future home? And something that we need to learn from previous mistakes is very, very expensive to move. And every time we do move, that expense is getting bigger and bigger because there's more specialist equipment, there's more of a team, there's more of revenue lost when we close, and that transition period comes into play. And so we really need to make sure when we move, it's a future proof, at least for 5 years out. So what we're trying to work out today is we're going to meet a few different agents at a few different potential properties, and we're going to be having a little look at different square footage, because we need to know, get a feel for, is 20,000 square foot enough, is 10,000, 5, you know, what's the square footage that we need. So we're getting out there, we're putting some tire time in, we're meeting some agents, with a view that we want to be on their books the first time they get a sniff of a property that may fit our criteria over the next few months. Let us have a looking at it and contact us directly, so that we're proactively on the hunt now, and we've put the word out that we're looking for a site. We don't know what it will be, but in going out there, meeting people, learning about what's coming up, travelling to different sites, we'll look at what radius are we prepared to travel from our existing site, what's the ideal square footage. We can then relay that back and consult with our teams about where there would be good radius for them, what matters, and really pinpoint the perfect property, draw that shortlist up and send it out to commercial property partners to try and help us find our new home that's going to allow us to take the business to the next stage of growth. So that's what we're doing. Let's see what we can find on the road. Yesterday, when we went to view a couple of the properties that we were scouting out for size, we didn't quite go to plan. I managed to grab all of about 20 seconds of footage, which I'm sure Sam's just included, because I wasn't fully confident filming, because the guys that we met were a little bit older than us, and I think they were a little bit sceptical when I had my little Osmo out and about. And obviously the first time you meet people and you're viewing a quite large commercial property, I think they were probably thinking, what's this guy all about? So yeah, we didn't unfortunately manage to capture as much as we would have liked, I'm afraid. But it was good. It was a good little exercise. We've got a rough feel for the square footage that we think we now need. We've now got this really tough decision to make around how big do you go in terms of like future planning, and is it like, do you want just enough for like say 2-3 years, which we really don't want to do, or do you really sort of stretch the cash flow and get like a 10-year out, almost forever home with a lot of scope and a lot of potential? One thing we're really set on is we want something that's going to be future-proof and that we can invest in owning the freehold. We don't really want to lease, because we want to invest quite heavily into it, and we want to own it for the future and put our stamp on it. And so it's a big reason why we want to be a bit fussy with what we go for. And then there's the whole conundrum of getting the right location for the team. So yeah, it's a lot to consider, and very easy to make the wrong decision. So it's weighed on me a little bit overnight. There's a lot of big decisions like that at the moment that we need to make, and I must admit, I feel a bit scared, because I think it's very easy to make the wrong decision, but someone has to make them, and somebody has to own them if they go wrong, and really that's going to have to be me. We can let the data tell us stuff, we can follow our gut, and we can get the team's opinion, and we can get advisors' opinion, but ultimately the buck has to stop with someone. And if we stay as we are, we're not going to keep getting better than yesterday. We're not going to keep creating great opportunities for our team. We're not going to keep growing. We're not going to be able to keep scaling and hiring and delivering great opportunities for those around us. We've got to roll the dice, but do it in the most calculated way possible. So yeah, sorry I didn't get to film. If we go for second viewings and shortlist some down, then I'm sure we'll be on better terms and we can get a little bit more captured to show you some of the units that we're looking at. Watch this space. Just having a bit of a brain dump exercise, which is something I try and do quite often. Found it quite therapeutic and healthy. But usually any projects that I've got bubbling in my head, it will be sticky note, Sharpie, and I'll just get them all out and down on paper. And then what I'll do is I'll try and sort of use that who not how and work out within my kind of close-knit team of the people that work directly with myself who is best fit to support, and where does that idea that I've had fall into their role. And then I'll kind of make a note of it and I'll bring that up at the next meeting or catch up that I have with them, and then we'll sort of discuss, is it worth taking forward? Do they carry it forward? Do we need to discuss it further? Is there more research involved? But I find that I am constantly coming up with thoughts, ideas when I'm out and about at the weekend, and I need a way of releasing them from my brain. And I've had to train myself quite aggressively sometimes in just getting this process out on paper. Sometimes I'm out and about and it's not easy to do. So I've actually found recently using on my iPad Freeform, it's this Apple app. Really cool. You can create these sticky notes in any different colour. And what I've been doing this morning, I've been starting to pull out of my head different sticky notes about different areas of things we need to look at doing. So we got our commission structure redesign, embroidery utilisation needs to be up, looking at an online design tool, scoping that out, looking at reducing some of our API bugs that I keep hearing about, a referral program for clients, modelling some free cash flow for the next 5 years. There's loads of things that I'm thinking about and that are in my brain, and I can't physically do all of those, and there's somebody in the business better than me to do it. So what I've been doing is now transporting it from there into a bit of a map where I've got on the Freeform app, I've got all of my team has got their own sticky note, and then I'm sort of nesting the projects and forcing myself to think about them in priority order as to who's the best fit, and I can drag and drop, and I just find I can play around with this in the evenings at home. I've got it on the move with me. I take my iPad most places, and it's just a little bit more visual of a visual sort, and then when I'm chatting to people I can pull this up and we can reorg and stuff. It's just a way of extracting information and putting it in some form of an order for me to be able to review and chop and change over time. So I thoroughly recommend people trying that. Just going through that process, it will just clear my head, give me some bandwidth to then be able to clear. And I'm just trying to spot the sign early when I'm getting a bit sometimes overwhelmed with carrying too much in my head, taking myself out for an hour, blocking an hour in my calendar and doing this. And sometimes I'm doing this twice a week. So yeah, nice set of sticky notes, the Freeform app and a Sharpie and the Apple Pencil doing the trick for me at the moment. That's what I'm doing. Well, that is it. Wrapping up another week on a nice walk to clear my head on this Friday evening. It is lovely weather in the UK at the moment. Could just so uplifting, just really brings your mood up when you wake up in the morning. There's a spring in your step, a bit of sunshine on your face. So yes, it's been a full-on week, pretty draining, but also exciting all at the same time. Loads of good stuff happening, plenty of curveballs thrown in there. I do sometimes wish, I was saying to someone earlier on a meeting, I honestly wish we could film more. There's so much that goes on in a week that's quite sensitive and like we can't show yet, or we'd love to sort of bring out one day but it's not a good time at the moment, or it's sensitive and it might impacts people, and there's so many meetings and conversations, like the real stuff, that I think, as much as I like to bring people in and show and be as open and honest as we can, even we can't always show the real grit, which is annoying, because I think more people need to see that stuff to understand what truly goes on and what you're letting yourself in for when you sign up to this madness. But yeah, wrapping up a good week, and we'll see what next week's got in store for us. If you like this video, I would be very grateful if you would like the video and leave us a comment about what else you'd like to see in our journey, and what bits you get a kick out of and what bits you don't, and hopefully we can make it a little bit better. Until next week, goodbye.